I'm just a happy old man looking forward to a bright and wonderful future.
Ladies and gentlemen, sit back and enjoy
Mega Meeple!
Greetings and welcome to the Mega Meeple. This is Season 3, Episode 7, or Episode 91. And, where the hell have I been? I don't know. I've been somewhere other than here. That's about it. So, but, hey, I appreciate everybody sticking around. And yeah, I'm back. I took a little vacation away from the mic, because I can. So thank you for hitting that download button and listening in. I'm going to be talking about some stuff here, and then I'm going to have a returning guest in the person of Brenna Noonan from Starling Games. She is back, and they're just finishing up a wildly successful Kickstarter for the not one but two Everdell expansions. Ha 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 ha. See you getting into that October, Spooktober, Halloween mood. I love Halloween. I love October. I love the fall. Everything about it, just fantastic time of year. Anyway, but Everdell has two expansions coming out, Spirecrest and Bellfaire. And we're going to be talking to Brenna later on in this episode about that. But first, if you haven't already, go over to the website. That's www.themegameeple.com. And all of the, just go to the social media page. All of my links to the social media craps are right there. The Facebooks, the Instagrams, the Twitters, and all that kind of stuff. The iTunes, link to that. And so you can follow me and like me on all that stuff there. Also had the link to the Patreon page. So if you want to go over there and fork over $1 or so a month, every little bit helps. And if you're not able to do that, hey, just thanks for listening. Spread the word. Word of mouth really helps. So just go ahead and tell your friends about the show. Share it, retweet it on Twitter, share it on Facebook, and all that kind of stuff. I could only do so much. I'm a one-man band. So, but this week is a great week to be a wrestling fan. Oh God, Thom! Jesus, you're gonna talk about wrestling? This is a podcast about gaming. Well, hold on. There's a reason why I'm talking about this, because there's a little bit of bleed over, some crossover from the wrestling that's kind of spilling over to gaming, specifically Dungeons and Dragons. I'm about to talk about. But if you don't want to hear about it, just click forward and to listen to the interview, whatever. But this does have to do with gaming, and I think it's just it's kind of ironic and almost amusing how there's a portion of the D&D community that just has kind of reacted to some of the stuff going on with AEW. And so this week, it's a fun week to be a wrestling fan. WWE, but all three of their shows have gone over to Fox. And then this Wednesday night, AEW makes its debut on the TNT network. So I'm really looking forward to that. That's my show, I think. So I enjoyed some of the stuff going on there. And I'm looking forward to what they what they have in store for us here. But anyway, the AEW stands for All Elite Wrestling. It is the brainstorm of a former WWE superstar, Cody Rhodes, which is one of the sons of Dusty Rhodes. For those of you who may have watched wrestling back in the day. So he pretty much left and created his own wrestling promotion. And it's been hailed as one of the it's serious competition to WWE, because up till now, WWE has pretty much been the monopoly, so to speak, as far as wrestling shows out there. But anyway, a cool thing that two of the characters in AEW is doing is we have one character named Maxwell Jacob Friedman, or he's otherwise known as MJF. He is a what is known in the wrestling business as a heel. A heel is basically the bad guy. It is his job or her job to basically get heat from the audience, and heat being, conflict, hate. People, come to see these things to, you got the good guy and you got the bad guy. And the bad guy generates heat from the audience so that the audience hates the heel or the bad guy, so that when the good guy, otherwise known as the babyface, rises up and beats the crap of the heel, you got that pop or that emotional sort of, the bad guy got beat up, yay, the good guy wins, yay. I mean, it's pretty much the same formula and motif of any source of entertainment that you see, TV shows, movies. You got the antagonist and you got the protagonist, and they're at odds at one another. They're in combat. They're in conflict, and there's a time that the bad guy beats down on the good guy, and the good guy has to rise to the occasion and overcome a bunch of obstacles, and ultimately, if it's a happy ending, gets his revenge, and the bad guy gets his comeuppance, and the good guy beats up on the bad guy and wins. So it's the same formula used in a lot of entertainment. So anyway, his MJF's opponent this week is a guy by the name of Bran Cutler. Now, Cutler is a big RPG player. He's a big gamer. He's a big D&D person. In fact, he recently appeared on Geek and Sundry playing D&D, and it was kind of funny because Bran Cutler wore a scarf, and he was basically playing MJF during his D&D thing on Geek and Sundry, and that's one of MJF's things where he comes out in a suit. He has one of these douchey scarves around his neck, acting real, pompous and arrogant. I mean, his signature line is, I am better than you and you know it. But Bran Cutler is big into D&D. In fact, part of his merchandise is a series of dice. He uses a D20 as part of his shirt and merchandise stuff. Down the side of his wrestling attire is a variety of different dice. He's got his D20s and D10s and D4s and stuff like that illustrated on his merchandise and his ring attire. So he does this. So there's been sort of like this Twitter war between Bran Cutler and MJF about Bran Cutler being, he plays D&D. And then MJF says, basically talking down to that and doing the usual tropes of making fun of people who play D&D they're fat. They're they play games and they're not socially adept. They're playing they live and play with play in their mom's basement or garage or something like that. And just really making fun of not only Brand Cutler but just RPG and gamers and D&D players and in general. And now I got to tell you, if you haven't already found this out, wrestling is fake. They already know who's gonna win before they do it. Basically, the way they do this is they before the match is done, they let both competitors know, okay, so and so is going to win, and this is going to be the finishing move. And then they tell them okay, you have 20 minutes to do this match. And then it's up to the wrestlers that go out there and basically improv and create, in a sense, a story in the ring about because if you watch these things real carefully, you could see the wrestlers call certain moves to the other, and it's the whole thing of trust, because some of these moves can be pretty dangerous if they don't do it right. If a person doesn't land or take a bump correctly, they could get injured. If someone doesn't execute a move correctly or safely, someone could get injured, and they do get injured. So there's a lot of trust between the two, entertainers to do this thing right. And they're basically out there, and it's entertainment. They're out there putting on a show. They're out there telling a story. So what I found was interesting, at least on Twitter, was there was a I guess a portion of D&D players that just really kind of just came down and attacked MJF, calling them names or taking a more sympathetic route, saying, "Oh, you what a poor childhood you've had." They really encourage you to look into RPG games and D&D. I think you might have some fun. Now, and there's a part of me that kind of laughs at that because, like I said, the whole wrestling thing is fake. It's make-believe. These people are playing characters, portraying a persona for the audience. And it's made up, it's acted. Because let me tell you something. I would not be surprised as much as how much MJF, makes fun of D&D players. I would not be surprised if MJF has played some games in Sawa. I mean, I would not be surprised if after the match this week that both MJF and Brand Cutler goes off to, a bar somewhere or some pub, shares a few beers and talks about, what they want to do in their rematch. These guys are a lot of these guys are friends. They help one another. So this reaction from D&D people, coming down on MJF, I think is just kind of ironic and amusing, considering that, D&D or role playing games, it's make believe. You're portraying a character. You're portraying an elf or a wizard or a rogue or something like that, and you're going up against the bad guys. You're going up against a dragon or a monster or some evil wizard somewhere, and depending on how deep you get into it, you get into like acting out and improvs and voice, doing your voices and stuff. Just like wrestling. Wrestling is like a role-playing game. And so I find it ironic that there's a few D&D players out there that don't recognize that it's basically the same thing. It's part of the entertainment, and I think that's just kind of ironic. So that's my take on the whole D&D versus AEW kind of thing. Now, don't get me wrong. I think it's pretty neat that something like a sports entertainment or wrestling is spilling over into gaming world, because now there's a bunch of gamers out there that seemingly have some kind of interest or vested interest in this MJF versus Brand Cutler conflict or beef going on. So who knows? Maybe because I know there's quite a few board gamers out there that are into wrestling. I've even found the same thing out with my interaction and doing stuff for my horror channel. That there's quite a few horror fans out there that are into wrestling, and that's not surprising considering that it's all entertainment. This stuff ain't real. Don't take it seriously. Wrestling is just like RPGs and D&D and Pathfinder and Savage World, whatever you play. It's all the same formula. These people are playing caricatures in a storyline, and the heel or the bad guy is his job is to make the audience hate them. And the good guy or the baby face, their job is to, get beat up for a while by the heel and then ultimately rise up and overcome the bad guy and win and save the day. Just like a movie, just like a TV show, just like an RPG role-playing game. So it's all the same thing. So it wouldn't surprise me at all why the appeal is there across the board. But I think it's just really neat that AEW is playing this angle as part of one of their storylines. At least I think so. Alrighty, welcome back to the Mega Meeple, and let's see here. We have a returning guest. I guess, I've been doing this about going into 3 years now, so it's only a matter of time before I get more and more returning guests, other than just J.B. Stegmeyer. But we have with Starling Games. I got Brenna Noonan with me again.
Yeah. Brenna, thank you. Thanks for having me on the show again. Happy to be back. I'm doing well, thanks.
That's great. Well, Everdell's been doing good too.
Yeah, thank you. Actually, just a few minutes before we got on the call, I just saw the Kickstarter campaign just ticked over 10,000 backers. So That's super exciting. Big milestone for us.
Great. Yeah, I guess it was about a year ago. About a year ago, because I post pictures of all the games I get and stuff like that, and not too long ago on my Facebook memories, like, oh, this is what showed up, and it's like, about a year ago, Everdell showed up at my doorstep.
Yeah, I think we did start fulfilling it in September. So if you received it last October, that sounds right.
Yeah. So and that was pretty wild because I if memory serves, Everdell came out like, at least for backers, it came out like, I want to say 4 or 5 months early than what was anticipated.
Yeah. So we got it out ahead of Gen Con 2018. So I think it started shipping out to backers in July, and then it hit retail the next September, I believe.
Okay. All right. Well, these we have not one but two expansions coming out for right now for Everdell.
Yeah.
Now let me see. Maybe this is one of the things that when you do something really well for people like, okay, can you do that again? So
Right.
estimated delivery is February 2020. Any possibility it could come out? I don't know, next month. Maybe, perhaps.
So we are actually going to have some next month because we did an abbreviated print run just for Essen Spiel. So we will have some limited number of copies there, and then the copies that are allocated for the Kickstarter backers will be a separate print run, and then probably another print run beyond that once it gets released to the public.
Okay, alrighty.
So we will have some next month.
All right, but we have to go to Essen Spiel to get them, right?
Yeah, actually, it's October 1st now, so this month. There you go.
Okay, all right. Oh, yeah, that's right. Yay, Halloween.
Oh, I'm so excited.
This is my favorite. Forget Thanksgiving, forget Christmas. It's just, those are just times to get together with your family and trying to last afternoon without fighting. So, yeah, Halloween is my holiday.
Yeah, I'll take Halloween, too.
So, anyway. But, yeah, Everdell came out. And then not too long after that, Pearlbrook came out, and the cool thing about Pearlbrook is it was one of those expansions that, I mean, it didn't really there was nothing in the game that really needed fixing,
right?
So it didn't really fix something that was in the core box. It didn't boggle anything down or get it more convoluted.
Yeah, like we really don't believe in expansions being band-aids for games. Obviously when we set out to put out a game, we try to make that game as complete and standalone as it can be. So with Pearlbrook being the first expansion, we didn't want a huge step up in complexity. We wanted people who enjoyed the base game to still enjoy Pearlbrook, but maybe just wanted a little bit more complexity and just giving you some more options and flexibility to work with, like in the existing framework of the game. And then with Spirecrest, since we had one big expansion under our belt already, we felt a little bit more comfortable to stretch out and take a little bit of a bigger step up in complexity.
Okay. Yeah, because Pearlbrook, it just gave you more options and things to do. I mean, so technically, I mean, you could set up Everdell with Pearlbrook and play that as like, your new core box game. And, it's up to the players whether or not they really want to go into the brook and stuff like that. And the cool thing I liked about that, too, is the introduction of the Frog Ambassador.
Right, yeah.
Because, I mean, I think thematically it works because, you figure a squirrel's going to go to a brook, he's going to drown.
Yeah, they're not going to fare too well underwater.
So you need that.
So they need a helper.
They need that little advocate to reach out to those underwater dwellers.
Yeah.
And I also want to thank all of you at the Starling Games of fixing those wood twig tokens. Oh my God!
Yeah.
Well,
once a product is out there in the wild, obviously you try to do the best you can with it beforehand, but sometimes it takes something being in the hands of thousands of people to find those issues. So after. I monitor, what backers and customers are saying very closely. I try to have my fingers in all the different social media pies and stuff. So, the volume of people saying like, hey, there's a real issue with the twigs, it was clear to us that, we needed to update them for the next printing.
Yeah, so they use it, because I've told people, it was like, if you don't have like a gaming table with a recessed playing area, those things roll off. And if you have a cat, you'll never see those tokens ever again.
I can imagine.
So we got the new and improved wood twig tokens.
Yes.
And then the wooden Evertree. I was looking after Everdell. I was like, I hope somebody comes out like with a 3D STL or something like that. It's like so we could get it. Because, I mean, with a game as good as Everdell, you're taking the tree apart and put it together.
Yeah.
And so it's like, And then when I saw the wooden Evertree, it was like, oh yeah, that's one of those things. And there's people out there, well, you don't need the tree in order to play the game. Well, it's like, well, you don't need miniatures in order to play a dungeon crawl.
Right,
You could use
right.
it with the little cardboard standees. Oh no, we need a miniature. Well, then I need my tree. So STFU.
Exactly, I understand. Yeah. So we were really happy to put out the wood tree, and we think it came out super well. It holds the color beautifully. It really pops.
Yes.
Yeah. So we're really happy with that, and it was something that people had asked for almost like fancifully. I think like, oh, what if we could have a real wood tree? And then in talking with our factory, we were able to do it. So yeah. It's great to add, they are cosmetic, but, for a game like Everdell, where the presentation is part of the experience, I think it's really important to try to level up those components as much as we can for the people that want them.
Yeah, and it just adds more to the theme and just the immersions of
right.
being in there in the forest with all the critters. So. Now we have not one but two expansions.
Yes.
So we have let's talk about the Spirecrest first. And,
Sure. Yeah. So we did not set out to create two expansions.
Oh, okay.
We originally were just developing one expansion, and it probably hewed closer to what Spirecrest currently is. Its working title was Journeys, and we wanted it to be kind of a like story-based, more narrative kind of expansion. That ended up not really working, so we kind of abandoned that idea, but it eventually evolved into like the discovery cards in Spirecrest and the weather cards, and then as we were going through development, we were trying to incorporate all these things that we had heard from our supporters that they wanted. Like some of the most common things people had asked for were player powers for all the different critter meeples and support for 5 to 6 players. So we knew going into it, we really wanted to do those things. And the expansion we were working on was just like, it was just bursting at the seams with content. So we made the decision probably like halfway through development to just totally split those and have Spirecrest be like a full expansion, similar in scope and size to Pearlbrook, and then Bellfaire is a smaller expansion.
Okay. So it looks like in Spirecrest we're going along a trail, perhaps up into the mountains. Now that we Pearlbrook got us down to the brooks and the stream, we're going up to the mountains in Spirecrest.
Yeah, so kind of similar in Pearlbrook, you have a frog ambassador. In Spirecrest, you have a rabbit traveler. So that's like your non-worker meeple that lives on the board and is following that trail along the mountains.
Okay. So what kind of things that does not? What kind of things does your traveler encounter or potentially encounter on these trails?
So one of the big changes, like I said, Spirecrest is going to be a little bit of a heavier Everdell experience. One of the big changes is we added something called weather cards. So one of those gets revealed for each season. And those are negative cards that are going to affect your ability to do what you want to do, essentially. Like you may get one that says you can't visit forest locations, so you can only visit like the basic locations or Haven. Or it may say your green production cards don't activate when they're played, so then you miss out on some production. So they're meant to limit how you play and make you be really creative with the decisions that you're making and working outside of, maybe what your typical strategy would be. Like I know I like to play a lot of blue cards, like activated abilities. So, I always think it's fun, like from a gaming standpoint, to have your core strategy disrupted a little bit and force you to go outside that. So that's very much what the weather cards do. And then we also added something called discovery cards. So as we were developing the game, James Wilson, the designer, was really adamant that he didn't want to bloat the deck too much. And even in Pearlbrook, we did not add that many new cards to the deck, just a few.
Yeah, because that deck already is pretty.
Yeah, it's already
pretty
quite
hefty.
big. Yes. So
although we have played a few games where we emptied out the deck.
yeah, it can happen, definitely. And I suspect we'll probably see more of that, getting up to 6 players. But so he came up with this idea to add a bunch of new cards, but they live outside the main deck. So that's what the discovery cards became. So these can be different critters, different locations, different activated abilities. They're all unique. So I think there's 42 of them in the collector's edition, and none of the two are alike. And so those could be, a location that you play into your city, and then it gives you an ability to go there. It could be a card that you just play immediately, and it has a one-time use. Or it could be a new type of critter, which in the game we call big critters, and these are big meeples.
Oh yeah, they're big.
Yeah, they're very big, and they actually have little saddles that you can clip your worker meeple onto, so they can take the big critters and ride them around to different locations.
Okay.
Yeah, we had a lot of fun working on these 2 expansions.
Now look. Now the board itself, attach it like Pearlbrook goes to like the left side of the board, and this one goes on the I guess the bottom or the lower section. So now these big critters are they workers, or do they just? So they replace one of your workers. So that's kind of why we came up with the saddle idea. So you can place your worker on them, and then you kind of remember that you're actually using a placement to use that critter. It's not outside of your regular worker placement. Okay, that's good.
Yeah, and they're really powerful. I've been doing daily reveals on the Kickstarter campaign, showing off new content.
Yep.
And the one I posted today was one of the big critters, which is a peacock called Corleander. And his ability, if you've played, I'm sure you'll find this intriguing, is when you use Corleander to claim an event, you can claim that event for half the required cost.
Okay.
Yeah, so if you, if you're claiming an event that requires, like, the doctor and the postal pigeon, you only need one of those cards as opposed to 2. So very powerful. So, yes, it's still one worker placement, but you're getting quite a lot out of it.
Yeah. All right. So these things are for those of us who have played Everdell quite a bit. It's like, okay, you develop like a strategy. It's like, okay, well, I could do this, and these works if I could only get this card, or I'm looking for this card, and I could do this. So these things kind of force the more experienced or seasoned player to like, okay, this isn't. Yeah, this ain't gonna get boring anymore. Now you gotta rethink your strategy. You gotta look at other venues of getting stuff into your city. Now the city limits are that has not changed. That's still at 15.
Yeah, that's still the same. Although the discovery cards live outside your city, so they don't count against your limit.
Okay.
Yeah, and so even though. A lot of these new cards sound really strong and powerful, like this Corleander critter. It's all done. That's possible in the balance of the game and in the ecosystem of the game because of that counterbalance of the weather cards. Because they're just going to be making things harder on the other end. So if we had just put in the weather cards without these more powerful cards, it would have been way too difficult to get around it. But so these more powerful discovery cards are meant to give you more tools to deal with the weather.
Okay. All right, now let's go on to Bellfaire. Evidently, these critters like to party.
Yes.
So tell us about the fair that's going on in around the Evertree.
Yeah, so Bellfaire is a modular expansion. So it's made up of a bunch of different little modules. It's not one big experience like Spirecrest or Pearlbrook. So some of the things that Bellfaire offers are rules and content for 5 to 6 players. That's something that people have asked for a lot. Part of the way it does this is through a market trading mechanic. And the market can be used in two ways. We have a flat market board that goes at the top of the board, which actually replaces the Evertree. Or there's a smaller modular market board that you can just have off to the side if you want to keep the Evertree. So that's something that a lot of people have been asking for, so we were happy to work on that. We also made unique player powers, asymmetric player powers for each of the critter types, so that's 15 altogether. So you have a lot of options if you want to use those. We added some new special events, forest locations, a new type of endgame award called the Garland Award, and then some fun cosmetic things like resource boards. Yeah, so those are all things that you can kind of mix and match or take out what you want to use and, ignore whatever you don't want to use. Like if you want to use player powers, but you only have a playing group of 3, then you can still use Bellfaire. You don't need to use those 5 to 6 player rules.
Okay. Now here's the another common question that I know you've gotten to the people out there. Is like, I want to throw it all on a table and play all at once. I want all.
Yes.
Is that possible? Or even it may be possible, but is it advisable?
Yeah. So we do not recommend playing Spirecrest and Pearlbrook together. It is theoretically possible to do that. I don't think there's anything in there that would contradict each other. But what I always tell people when they ask about that is like, look, these 2 expansions were not designed to be played together, so they have not been balanced against each other. So these cards may behave in weird ways that we did not account for. So, I just tell people that so they know what they're getting into going in. But, if people want kind of a more, quite a lot more complex experience because you're adding both those expansions and, the longer time that's going to go with that, then they can certainly do that. We just don't really recommend it from a balance standpoint. Bellfaire is easier because it's modular, so you can really combine that with anything.
Okay. So proceed at your own risk.
Yeah. I do hope that some people do it because I'll be interested to hear how they go.
So now, as I'm sure with coming out with expansions to a game that already has it's been established, what kind of challenges did you guys have as far as wanting to put the expansion in there, but not wanting to drastically change so much of the core game of Everdell that everybody have played and fallen in love with?
Yeah.
What kind of challenges do you guys have as far as making that all balance out?
It's a huge challenge, and most of the heavy lifting and doing that, definitely goes to James Wilson, the designer. So he deserves all the credit in the world, definitely. But yeah, I think what a lot of people love about Everdell, aside from like the art and the world itself, but just purely in terms of getting it to the table, is the level of complexity, which is kind of that middle weight. And also the length, because it doesn't really overstay its welcome. So when we approach the expansions, those are really the things that we're looking at, that we don't want to take it to a radically different complexity level or a drastically longer playtime. Now, adding an expansion, you're going to go up in complexity and playtime a bit, but I think there's a certain tolerance there, even among more casual players. But we're not looking to make a drastically different game, definitely. And the deck bloat is definitely also the main concern. We really struggled with how to get the content in there that we wanted without bloating the deck, and then the discovery cards evolved from that.
And then, of course, we got Andrew Bosley back again doing the artwork, so everything is consistent with that. And I love the little I don't know if you call them Easter eggs because they're like right there in plain sight, but you got to know.
I think they
what
are
to
Easter
look
eggs,
for.
though. Yeah.
You got especially with the critters and the constructions.
Yes.
You could see on the critter card the some kind of resemblance of the construction or the their little house behind them, or they're in their house. So in part of the background. So,
Yeah, I love that aspect of it too. I mean, he just has such a wonderful style. He's such a talented artist. We're so lucky to have him working with us on the Everdell line. I don't think it would be Everdell without him. Yeah, he's immensely talented. I think all the work he's done on Everdell has just been incredible. But I will say, I think his work on Spirecrest is just like even beyond what he's done in the past. Wow. I think it's really excellent.
Excellent. All right. Looking forward to seeing that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's just the beautiful artwork, and just you have the same artist throughout the whole line, and it's. I mean, if people not familiar with Everdell, you may just look at the box art and say, "Oh, that's just it's just a pretty box," but it's serious. I don't know what rock you've been living under in the past year or so, but Everdell has been. It's a complete package. It looks good. It plays good. There's a lot to it, and with
Thank
these
you.
Two expansions now, it's going to add even more. So let's see. We are recording this. Actually, I'm recording this on the 1st of October.
Yep.
And so we have 50 hours to go at the time.
Yeah, just about. So we're getting into the final couple days. It's very exciting.
So if you still have a few hours left, get over to the Kickstarter. Of course, we'll put the links into the show notes of this episode. If you have not gotten Everdell yet, this is the time to redeem yourself. But you need to get the hell over there to the Kickstarter at the very least, jump in on the late pledge, and then we'll find it in our hearts to forgive you.
Yes, we promise.
Well, Brenna, thank you so much for coming back on and telling us about the continuing saga of Everdell,
thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.
And let me ask you one more question.
Sure.
Because I just thought of it, and there's been. I know you kind of went through your live reveals for the Kickstarter and stuff with the cars. You kind of implied that you guys may have at least one more expansion up your sleeves. So I'm for those of us who are like kind of limited on shelf space. Is there if there are other expansions coming out down the line? Is there eventually like a big box or one box fits all type of thing planned?
Yeah, so I can tell you, and we don't have, because we just finished Spirecrest and Bellfaire not too long ago, so we haven't quite moved on to the next thing yet. But we do have ideas for more expansions, probably at least one more. And when we complete the line, then we will most likely do a big box to cap it off. A lot of people asked us if we would do that in this campaign, and we just don't want to do it prematurely because we don't know what'll come next. We don't want to ask people to buy 2 big boxes.
Right. I mean, because what I had the whole thing like Broken Token just announced one of their big crates to fit everything in the Mansions of Madness line.
Oh, wow.
And then a few months later, Fantasy Flight Games announced 2 more expansions. So now it's like
surprise.
Yeah, so do it too soon.
Yeah, so we don't want to get into that situation with our backers because they've been so amazing and so supportive. We really just want to give them the one final thing. Great.
Well, thank you so much, and we're enjoying Everdell ever so much.
I'm glad to hear that. Thank you.
So head over to the Kickstarter. The Kickstarter's going to be live until October 3rd.
Yep, 4 p.m. Eastern. You have until then.
Yep. And then, at least if you missed that, get on to that late pledge, or at least or if you're really late, just pick it up in your local game store. But you got to get your hands on Everdell. It's an attractive game, and there's a lot under the hood as well. So it's not just a pretty face.
definitely. Well, thank you. We appreciate that.
Thank you, Brenna, and congratulations on your another successful Kickstarter.
Thank you very much.
I hope to talk to you again at the next expansion of Everdell to find out what the little critters are up to then.
Yes, definitely. Let's do it.
Alrighty then. Well, thank you so much for smashing that download button. Appreciate it very much. If you haven't already, go over to the website, go over to iTunes, subscribe, leave me a little, put out some of that 5-star loving, and leave me a happy review. Helps out a lot. And you can follow me on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and all that kind of crap. The links, as I said earlier, is on the website, www.megameeple.com. And that's about it. So, yeah. So thank you so much for listening. Thank you for Brenna Noonan for coming back on. And I'm looking forward to just more fun with the critters there in Everdell Forest. And I'm looking forward to Brand Cutler beating the hell out of MJF. So until next time, this is the Mega Meeple, Thom Grogan saying, I'll see you at the gaming table.